Hey, this is Joy. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are celebrating Debbie J's 4,000 subscribers. So this is a thank you hop to everybody that supports us. And so our theme is obviously thank you. I am using the Honey Bee Beatiful Blooms stamp and 4-layer stencil set, as well as the Layering Vintage Labels, Momenta Wreath Cut and Emboss set, and a Gina Marie thank you die cut. So what I love about doing these hops is, one, we get to say thank you to all of our subscribers and our new subscribers. But what I also like is that we get to use whatever we want and we can mix our companies. So I am doing 3 cards today. I'm taking a very simple design and I'm elevating it each time. So I start out by stamping the Beatiful Blooms by Honey Bee with Versamark, and I emboss that with white fine detail embossing powder. And then I come in with distress inks in the colors of Peacock Feathers, Mermaid Lagoon, and Prize Ribbon. I am in serious need of a vacation of the sun and of the beach, so I chose one of my favorite watercolors or beach colors. So you obviously could do whatever colors that you like. There's no rhyme or reason to this. So I think of this as simple techniques. We kind of all learned this in the beginning. So I want to show that we can take these stamp sets that are either meant to be colored or to be colored in with a stencil and still just use them as line art by embossing them or just stamping them. When I do any type of ink blending, I put down 1 coat, which I call my dirty coat. That might sound odd, but I don't really care what the blend is. I am just trying to get the paper moist and primed so that it'll take the colors and blend. So I always start with my lightest, work to my medium, and then go to my darkest, and then back through darkest to lightest. And I find that if you concentrate your blending, that you're going to end up getting almost 5 to 6 different colors if you work on it. Because where the colors overlap, you're creating another color. Here I am using my distress sprayer, and I'm just getting some droplets on the paper, and then I mop that up just to create some depth and dimension with my ink. I am bringing in a heavy body acrylic paint. I think I got it at Michael's, and I am splattering that onto my panel. Now I am going to do that with all 3 panels, so it's going to be a little bit repetitive, but I always like watching splatter. I could do it all day long when I watch YouTube, so I thought maybe you'd like to see it. I would appreciate it if you are new here, if you would consider liking and subscribing and commenting. Be sure to check the description box below for your next person on the hop. I know some people are live, and then for me, I am pre-recorded, but I am live on the premiere, so I'll be around if you have questions. My second card I stamped with Memento ink, and I am pointing that out because Memento ink allows you to blend with other dye inks without it bleeding. Other dye inks sometimes don't play nice with each other, so Memento does work. So I stamped that again in a diamond shape, and I am bringing in the first stencil, and that's the leaves number 1, and I am blending Color Hive inks in the color, I think, Fresh Prince. So what I like about these stencils is you've got the design etched on the stencil. So you can actually see the line art of the stamp when you put it over. So it's over the image so that you know exactly where this goes. So it makes lining the images up easily. And you're going to see that we only are coloring the leaves. Now for the second leaf portion, I am using Cotswold Green, which is more of an olive green. I am doing that just because I think these 2 colors complement one another, and I do like a 2-dimensional leaf if possible. And again, super easy to line up because you've got the lines drawn in, or with a laser, honestly, printed onto this. So Honeybee knocked it out of the park. This is the best layering stencil I have ever used, and I have used a lot of them. I highly recommend Honeybee. In fact, this is the first time that I've ordered from Honeybee. And when I opened my order, I was impressed with the wrapping. I got some extra little goodies, some like toner sheets, some envelopes. They always seem to do something, as they call the freebie. But I wanted to tell you that I love this stamp set so much that I ordered 2. So what does that mean? It means that if you are US based and you leave me a comment, I will choose one by a random selector, and I will send it to you. So I will, on my channel, update who the winner is, and then you can contact me through my email, which I'll have that linked. Now, if you are international based, I will send you a gift card either to scrapbook.com or to Honeybee. I'll have to check to see if Honeybee ships internationally. That's the only thing. So it might be one or the other, but you'll either win the stamp set or you will win a gift card. But there will only be one winner from my channel. Now, I do understand that other channels might be giving stuff away, as well as I believe we have like 7 sponsors. So be sure to check out all of the videos throughout the weekend. Now I am coming in with the first petal or bloom stencil, and I am blending bubblegum and then flamingo color hive inks, and I'm using itty bitty blending brushes from the Rabbit Hole Designs. These are great brushes. They're relatively inexpensive, and I do recommend those. Now, I just wanted to remind people that you could always get more than one color, like red and yellow make an orange. So here I'm using pink and a lemon color, and I'm getting a nice salmon or persimmon color. I always want to remind people that you can layer your inks to get different colors instead of having to buy all the things. If you're like me, you've got whole set syndrome and you own them all. I think I said in one of my videos I counted, I have like 450 inks. That's insanity, but if you love them, do it. And if you think I'm crazy, you're probably right. So the next stencil is for the berries and the centers of the flowers, and I am using Lady Liberty by Maker Forte Color Hive ink. And I'll be honest, this is one of my favorite colors, but looking back at my final card, I wish I had done something a little bit lighter. I did choose to mask this, and I used rock removable sticker paper, and I showed you that I drew on the back of it just so that I knew which was the front, which part had adhesive and which didn't. Now I am blending the exact same inks that I used on the first card. You're going to see a theme here. We're sticking with the same color families. And I am using the Mermaid Peacock Feathers Mermaid Lagoon towards the outer edge. And then the very furthest edge, I am using the Prize Ribbon. And that's just because I am creating a vignette around the card. So in the first card, we did a horizontal blend. Now we're doing a circular, or this kind of turns out to be diamond, just because our stamp is shaped in the size of either a diamond or a square, depending on how you position it on your card. And like always, I do blend this twice. I did not leave that whole process in, otherwise this video would be extremely long, because we're doing a lot. We're about halfway through, and we've got some Copic coloring coming on. So, again, just hang with me. Now that we're talking about the thank you. So, at this time of year, I always say I'm thankful for my family, for my friends, and truly my friends. I'm thankful for my husband and all the support. Without him, I would not be able to do what I do on a daily basis. He supports all of my crafty endeavors. He encourages me. He makes me do the things that I do. I'm also very thankful for a voice. Years ago, I woke up with zero voice, could not speak, could not breathe, and by the miracle of a lot of surgeries, I have the voice that I have now. It doesn't last very long. It's a struggle to do every one of these videos, but I feel like everybody has something to share in their art, so please forgive my voice. This is me every day, but I love what I do. I love hanging out with you guys, and I love the encouragement that I get from this community, so thank you. Again, I am so thankful for all of you out there. This next image, the exact same one, I stamped with Color Hive ink, Eclipse black ink, and the reason I did this is it's my favorite Copic friendly ink. This also, if it's heat set, you can watercolor. It's permanent ink, but it is Copic friendly, and it is dark, and it's crisp, and it's juicy, and it's got a silicone pad on it, so I will always stamp with this as long as I'm not having to blend other inks on top of it immediately, meaning dye inks. So I am doing the leaves or the foliage with my favorite Copic blend, which is always a YG01, a 03, a 17, and a 67. And that cool little teal thing that you're seeing, that's a color blend stand from Sweet Sentiment Stamps. I've had people ask me about it. It's just a great way to keep your markers organized, and it lets you guys see what I'm using. So once I put down that YG01, I come in with my 6-7. In any place that the flower would overlap the leaf, I put in a shadow, and wherever the veins on the leaves are, I then put that in. I blend that out with a 1-7, and then I ultimately come through and I blend out the entire thing with a 03. But I love that YG01 as a pop on the outer edge. It just gives you a lot of depth because we're going from the lightest YG01 to a 6-7, which has a lot of blue in it. So we're really working to blend that, but it's what makes the flowers pop. Now I am using a different kind of blend for my petals. I am using an RV19, a V as in Victor 05, an RV13, and an RV10. And I use the color hex chart from Sandy Allnock, and that kind of lets you see what colors will blend, but also which complement each other. So I highly suggest that you look at that. That way you don't have to use, like, I think when I first started coloring, I would do like an RV19, a 17, a 13, a 10. I would just go down the line. Now I'm able to use colors that kind of, they're a little bit out of the range, but give me different pops of color. Now when I tackle flowers, I learned this from Kelly Latavola. I guess it's Taylor now. I always say Latavola, but that's what her name was when I first started making cards, is I tackle my flowers one petal at a time. If I do that, then I don't get lost. That way I know which way the flower is bending, which way the petals are going. Otherwise, you just get this great big huge blend of like a center coming out, but you don't have any movement. So I always start with my darkest color when I do my flowers. I know a lot of colors start with their lightest, but I'm heavy-handed, so I start with my darkest. So I go in with the RV19, and then I go with the V05, and I do not overlap those colors because I want the striations of the color. Then I work in my RV13. Your RV13 is going to be your midtone or the true color of your flower. And then the RV10 is your highlight. So once I got that first flower done, I skipped over to the second one. And for that middle section, I went over the artist drawn lines with an E23, then a Y15, and a Y11. That E23, being a brown, actually makes that center pop. And I'm not sure that I shared that. In fact, I know I didn't with you guys. But that is how to get your your centers, the pop of your flowers, is using your brown with your yellows. And sometimes I'll even go back in, because that Y11 has so much alcohol in it that there's not a lot of pigment. Sometimes it can wash it out. So sometimes I go back in with that E23 at the end and I dot that in. I am repeating the exact same process, with the exception of I took that RV19 and I did a big dark circle around the outer part of what would be the stamen or the center part of the flower, because I wanted that yellow to pop. Now I do go everywhere that the petals overlap. I put in that RV19 so I get a really nice shadow. Now this flower looks like it's got a fold, so the middle part of some of the petals would be kind of puffed up. So I left those lighter in the center. And by doing that, I am giving the flower some movement. And I zoomed in for a second for you to see that. Now for the berries, I used a BG02, 05, and 09. So I colored the entire thing with the 02. I dotted in the 9 at the very bottom, and then I sort of dotted in the 5. Now where you're going to see the little bluebells, I took that BG09 and around that little top where there would be a curve, I outlined that so that I would get dimension in that flower. There's not a whole lot to these flowers. And again, because I chose my colors on my previous card, and I'm trying to show you the progression of the different mediums. So we started out with just line stamping. Then we used stenciling that gave us a really simple color. Now you could step up your stenciling by taking, you could do Copics over it if you're using a dye ink, or you could do colored pencils. I just wanted to show you how it was. From here, for my background, I started out around the flowers with a BG13 so that it would mimic the peacock feathers. Then from there, I took it out to a BG45, so it'd be like Mermaid Lagoon. And then I didn't do a true prized ribbon. I stuck with a BG49. Now this looks like a hot mess, and I get it. The paper is wet from all color. I am at times using my chisel end of my marker. Other times I am going back over with the brush strokes just to get the blend. Now here's the surprise. I used the FYR1 and I flicked in some of that into the pinks, and that just made those pop and become vibrant. So where in the previous card I used the yellow to make a salmon color, and now I'm using this fluorescent marker to give the illusion of some of that vibrancy. Here's my trick now. I come in with, this is the peacock feathers, and I am blending over my Copic background. And what that's doing, it's saturating the paper more, getting more depth, and it's also taking some of those striations from the Copics out. Now you need to remember, my paper is extremely saturated. It's moist from all of the marker, all the alcohol. So once this dries back, it's pretty amazing. I did go in with then the Mermaid Lagoon, and then very slightly I used the prize ribbon just on the edges, and I really think that the prize ribbon is what it needed to tie it in. So we've got kind of the same idea where we're going into the circular motion, where we're drawing the vignette into the card, and that's really just making those flowers pop and make those the center. Like I did previously, I forgot, I used my distress sprayer and I sprayed it, mopped it up with a microfiber cloth, and so wherever the distress ink is, then we got some of that reaction. Now the Copic ink itself would not react, it's just the distress inks. That's why we're getting all that dimension and depth. And just like the other previous two cards, I went ahead and splattered that. Here's the comparison of all three panels. Here I am coming in with the layering vintage labels from Honeybee. I did that outer side, which does that solid image, But I took the next nesting die and I made a frame. I'm gluing that down with my Barely Art glue, and I am applying that straight onto the top of that card. Now you're going to see I had a little bit of where my paper wasn't even, so I did trim that off camera. I used that Momenta wreath cut and emboss set. This was from Hobby Lobby. It's been discontinued forever. On this next card, this is the first one, I'm using the Gina Marie Thank You, and I did that in Eclipse Black cardstock just to make it pop off of the front. So, and then I'm using my espresso from Sweet Sentiment to tack those down or weigh those down. For this last card, I am using that same things, but in white cardstock. And then I added some blue sequins. So thank you for hanging out with me. Be sure to like and subscribe. And I hope you'll come back and see me. Be sure to check out everybody else along WJ's 4,000 sub hop. Here are some last looks at my cards. I think that the solid blue with the white is my favorite, and then this last one with the Copics is the one that just knocked it out of the park for me. Again, thank you for hanging out with me, and until next time, keep crafting. Bye-bye, friends.